Hello, Rebels, and welcome to episode 9 of the Rebel and Reawaken podcast. It's time to rebel against merely surviving by reawakening your passions and zeal for life to truly begin thriving. This podcast was created to give you practical and usable tips and tools to help you cultivate a life in recovery that you love and can't wait to live out each day. Together, we are saying goodbye to running to things that drain us and leave us feeling depleted so that we can step into the life that we were made for. While this podcast is geared towards those in recovery from drugs and alcohol, anyone can benefit from the tools we discuss here because if we're honest, we're all recovering from something. At some point in time, we are all in the process of recovering from life in one way or another. So you are welcome here, and together we will recover life and create a life we love to live. This week, we talk about staying sober through the storms of life. If you aren't in recovery, think of this as staying strong or staying the course with your goals or progress in the midst of the storms of life. This episode is for anyone who is in the midst of a storm in their life or who is sitting in the aftermath, shell-shocked and not sure what to do next. While many of us may experience similar situations in life, each experience is as unique as your fingerprints. So there is no one-size-fits-all answer to the question, how do I get through this? But my hope is that this podcast episode will help you find at least one thing that will help you make it through this situation that has rocked you to your core. John C. Maxwell said, "You never really know something until you teach it to someone else." I heard this quote many times before and I knew it to be true, so I would always strive to teach someone the things that I needed to learn so that I knew that I actually understood the concept. This is how I ended up with a final grade of 102 in college chemistry. But the truest test of this quote came when I had to teach my daughter to grieve the death of her two favorite people in the entire world. My entire life, I had been taught to cope with life with a drink in hand. That was how my entire family dealt with everything. So when I was faced with having to learn to cope with life totally sober, I did not realize that one day these lessons would be the way that I kept my child from suffering the long-term consequences that can result from unresolved grief. Because I was faced with earth-shattering death of my dreams, and I was able to stay sober, I was able to help my daughter successfully process her grief later in life, and now I'm able to help others navigate the storms of life without having to go back to drugs and alcohol to do it. If you follow me or you've known me for any amount of time, then you probably know that I'm no stranger to loss and struggle. By the age of 7, I began losing people in my life. First, it was my great-grandmother, and while I didn't speak Spanish and she didn't speak English, she was one of my favorite people in the whole world. She was fun. She was funny. I used to love to just sit next to her hospital bed that was in her bedroom and watch Spanish soap operas, the one with the little bumblebee. Not sure if anybody remembers that one, but losing her was the first time I was introduced to the concept of death. And the next year, my dad died, and my aunt, when she told me that my dad was gone, actually referenced the death of my great-grandmother to try to explain to me that my dad was not coming home. So I started losing people very early in life. The day that my dad died, my brother and I walked out of our home with the clothes on our back, and we were never allowed to return to our home. We were never allowed to retrieve any of our things. We were given hand-me-downs from our cousins, and we had to start fresh. My stepmom had changed the locks to the house, and we weren't allowed back in. So life as I knew it at that moment totally ended. So I have been experiencing loss and the death of parts of my life since a really young age. At age 15, I was in an abusive relationship. I got pregnant and had an abortion and felt the loss of that wanted child at the age of 15. And then at the age of 16, my childhood best friend hung herself. She died by suicide. And that was another blow that life gave me. I felt a lot of shame, a lot of regret around her death because I hadn't reached out in about a year. We hadn't spoken in a year, and I had a lot of shame and regret. I wasn't sure that I'd recover from either one of those experiences. I was a very broken, very emotional, very heartbroken teenager at that point. At 17, I was introduced to meth. Meth cured every ailment I had ever felt. Meth washed away all the shame and guilt that I felt from the year before. Meth made me feel better. It made me feel like I was on top of the world. And for the next 3 years, I didn't feel anything except high or upset that I wasn't high. I don't remember a whole lot of that time. It was a very dark and twisty time in my life. But at the age of 20, I met the father of my child and his son. And at 21, my daughter was born and things were right on track. I'd been sober for just over a year. I had a great job at a casual dining Asian restaurant. I was enrolled in college courses again. And my family was happy, healthy, and whole. 9 months after my daughter was born, her dad was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Yep, 15 years. One minute, the judge was telling us that he was drawing up paperwork to drop the charges against my daughter's dad. And then the next minute, I was listening to the judge read out the sentencing while my mom was holding me as I rocked back and forth with tears pouring down my face, just asking God why. How did we get here? How was I, a full-time college student, working part-time, going to raise a child on my own for 15 years? All I had ever wanted for my child was for her to grow up with both parents in her life. My parents divorced when I was 5. It was an awful divorce. It was a lot of fighting. It was very tumultuous. And then 3 years after their divorce, my dad died. So all I ever wanted was for my child to grow up with both parents. In one moment, all those hopes and dreams for my daughter's bright future came crashing down. And it was like watching everything burn to the ground and not being able to do anything about it. I felt like that sad, scared, displaced 8-year-old that I was when my dad died all over again. That week, I had to move out of our home and we moved into my mom's house. No big deal, right? Wrong. My mom lived in the place where I had spent the darkest days of my addiction. She lived where the mere act of walking to the mailbox was a trigger for me. She lived directly behind the drug dealer that I knew, and it seemed like in a matter of minutes, a judge had spoken one sentence and catapulted me right back into the midst of my biggest trigger. Being there wasn't the issue. I'd lived in my mom's house temporarily right after my daughter was born while we waited for our house to be ready. The issue was the broken state of my emotional world. My nerves were shot, and I had only been sober for about a year and 10 months at this point. I was barely sober when I found out I was pregnant. I had just started to learn how to live a sober life as an adult. This was the very first time I was a sober adult ever. And then I found out I was going to be a mom. And so I had gone from being this careless 20-year-old with the mentality of a 16-year-old, because remember, if you introduce drugs and alcohol to a teenage brain, it just kind of stops developing emotionally and intellectually. So you are the age that you started using at when you finally stopped using, right? So I was this 16-year-old mentally in a 20-year-old body. I had become a stepmom almost overnight to Jeremiah, and I was having to stay sober to care for him. And then I was having to stay sober because of my unborn baby. But at this moment, when my entire world came crashing down and I was suddenly in the mecca of meth land, going back to getting high and going back to meth, the one thing that had been a salve to my soul for so long, that would have been the easy way out. That would have been the easy way to cope with my emotions. I could have gone back to the dope house and smoked away all the pain. I could have avoided it by getting high. That would have been so much easier than setting out to do the hard work that was set out in front of me at this moment. But instead, I did not get high. I did not turn to drugs and alcohol. Instead, I poured myself into learning how to stand on my own 2 feet. I got a degree. I shared my love of exploring with my daughter. I found support in my friends and family. I created a circle of friends that I could lean on. And I stayed sober through this awful storm of life, and I'm so glad that I did. Because now I'm 17 years sober from meth. I have 3 college degrees. I run 2 different companies. I work for an amazing nonprofit that I love. And each day I try my hardest to help others stay strong through the storms and not give in to the temptations to give up when life throws you a low freaking blow. And I thank God every day that I did not go back to the things that I used to use to cope. And instead, I learned new ways to cope, and I found a new healthy way to make it through the storms of life. This is just one of the many times that life has knocked me on my butt. There have been so many others since then, but it was the first experience where I had to learn how to stay sober and stay strong and stay the course when life knocked me to my knees. As time has passed and other storms have come, the fight that was once to just stay sober has transformed, and now I utilize these concepts to help protect my mental health when I suffer a loss or a death or a broken dream or whatever it is. When I find myself broken and hurting, I first remind myself that my feelings are valid. So this first point is feelings. It is important for you to validate the feelings that you are feeling. For too many years, I drowned my feelings in a pipe or a bottle of booze. When life got to be too much to handle, I numbed it with whatever was available. Numbing your feelings does not make them go away. It simply stores them away for another day. So before you reach for that hit, that drink, the razor to cut, the tub of ice cream to binge, or head to the casino to gamble your problems away, I want you to hear this. Numbing your feelings for today only ruins tomorrow by leaving you feeling ashamed and depleted. Your feelings will still be there tomorrow. So instead of numbing the feelings, why not feel them? Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's painful. Yes, feelings suck. But what does this look like? It looks like expressing your anger by going to a rage room or breaking things in a safe way, going outside and screaming as loud as you can. Your neighbors might think you're crazy, but that's okay. You're getting it out, and that's what matters. You can write a letter to the person you're angry at, dead or alive. Yes, you can be angry at dead people, and it is okay. And then you can burn it. You can write out your feelings on a wall and then paint over it. Word to the wise, some Sharpies don't cover up. My friend had my daughter and her daughter do this, and one of the Sharpies wouldn't cover up. She has covered it over and over with different kinds of paint, and it won't go away. So just FYI, some Sharpies won't cover with any amount of paint. But it is an option, and it proved to be very therapeutic for our kiddos. You can write your anger out on a plate and then go smash the plate safely. Wear goggles or glasses and make sure you clean up all the glass. You can take a boxing class or get a punching bag at home. You can go for a run. The important thing is to let yourself feel angry. It's okay. If you're feeling sad at the loss, regardless of what the loss is, it's okay. It's okay to feel sad. Bad medical reports are sad. Broken promises are sad. Broken dreams, lost hopes, those are sad. Feel sad. Sit under the shower and just let yourself cry. Crying is good. It's our body's way of naturally cleansing the emotions that you're feeling. Journal, paint, draw, talk to a friend, sit in a coffee shop and listen to music, and just let yourself feel what you're feeling. Feeling happy in the midst of a storm can feel weird and it can feel wrong. If you are feeling happy in the midst of a storm, don't feel guilty. Let yourself feel happy. Grief is not a perfect line and it's not a perfect circle. It is a roller coaster of emotions. It is a lot like the waves in the ocean. They come and they go. Just let those feelings come. If you're feeling happy, feel happy because the moment won't last forever. So enjoy feeling happy while you do. The important thing here is that you allow yourself to feel the feelings that you're feeling without numbing them. So, the second thing I do whenever life throws me a curveball is I turn to my community. I lean on the people that I care about and who I know care about me. This one can be tricky if you are in early recovery. You may feel tempted to go back to your using buddies because you think they know you best and you think they love you. Don't do that. Do not do that. If you don't have any new sober friends that you can turn to or family that encourages you to stay strong and stay sober during this time, then go find some. We live in such an amazing time right now. We can literally go online at any time of day and find hundreds of people just like us who are looking for connection. In this moment, when you are in the midst of a storm and you are struggling to stay sober, you need to surround yourself with people who are going to care for you, lift you up, and encourage you to stay on the right path. You don't need to be around people who are going to take you straight back to your old life. Life may not be what you thought it would be, but trust me when I say there is so much more to come. Things that will blow away your wildest dreams. But if you go back, if you give up now, you'll never know how sweet life can be. I want you to remember that you are strong, you are capable, and this too shall pass. All right, so the next thing that I do when life knocks me to my knees is I go back to my hobbies. It's really easy to get caught up in every day-to-day life and forget to have fun, forget to do things that bring you joy. So when you are in the midst of a storm and life is really hard, it is important to do things that bring you joy. So the things that bring me joy are exploring, being with friends and family, music, cooking, taking pictures out in nature. So when I am truly struggling to stay the course, stay mentally sane, I try to do things that I enjoy. So it is important that you find something that you enjoy doing. If you don't know what that is, then I encourage you to take some time, sit down, journal about it, really think about what you enjoy doing, and spend a few minutes each day doing those things. So why do I have you do this? Because engaging in things that bring you joy, that you enjoy doing, it's going to help to distract you from the chaos that's going on in life right now. So it will give your brain a break from the stress, the anger, the sadness, and it will allow your brain to reset and allow you to refuel yourself so that you can continue to endure whatever it is that's going on for just a little bit longer. So if you enjoy taking pictures, go outside and snap a few pictures and then get online and put them in your computer and play with Photoshop for a while. If you enjoy cooking, make some muffins, make dinner for someone. The important thing is to get up and get moving. Another thing that I suggest doing is planning out a time each day for you to do this. So why do you want to have a plan? Because when you've been knocked to your knees and you don't even want to get out of bed, having something that brings you joy and something that is fun and enjoyable to your soul on your schedule gives you a reason to get out of bed in the morning. And when you are depleted and just broken, having a reason to get out of bed each day is life-giving. So figure out what it is that you enjoy doing and put it on your calendar. Make sure you set an alarm on your phone to remind you that it's time to do it. Have someone in your life that you can say, hey, can you text me and make sure that I've done XYZ today? It's very, very important that you incorporate things that you enjoy into your life, especially when you're in the middle of a storm. All right, so the last and most important thing for you to do when you are trying to stay sober through a storm is to Get professional help if you need it. I cannot tell you how important this is. Like, there is no shame in getting help from a professional. No shame at all. Be it a therapist, a coach, a support group, you need to have someone that you can talk to, someone that you can work out these things with. There are places out there that do sliding scale fee therapy. There are coaches who will do sliding scale fee coaching sessions. I offer those if you ever need it. There are support groups out there that are totally free. When my daughter needed therapy after my fiance died, I was able to take her to the family therapy clinic there at Texas Tech, and we did the sliding scale fee, and I was able to get her therapy sessions for $5 a session. So she was able to do play therapy with a PhD candidate, and I cannot tell you how life-giving that was to her. It helped her tremendously. So there are options out there for therapy and mental health treatment, even if you can't afford the normal payments. So a quick Google search will help you figure that out. I'm here if you ever need help. I'm happy to do some searches for you. My job as a coach is to help people in recovery get and stay sober and create a sober life that they can't wait to live. So part of that is learning how to navigate the storms of life, right? So I would be so happy to help you do that. The important thing is that you get help if you need it. There is no shame in seeking professional help. There is no shame in taking medication that is prescribed to you from a healthcare professional that will help you get through this storm. There is no shame in getting help. Reach out. Don't suffer in silence. A quick Google search can seriously save a life. So don't hesitate. Please, 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 guys. It is so important to get professional help when you need it. All right, so that is it for this episode. Quick recap. All right, so when we are going through a storm of life, we are going to feel our feelings. We are going to surround ourselves with friends, family who can help push us forward. We are going to engage in hobbies that we enjoy. And we are going to seek professional help when needed. I truly hope that there is something in today's episode that has taught you at least one thing to help you survive the storms of this life. I hope it helped you to see that you were made for more than merely surviving. You were made for thriving. Crumbs are for the birds. You were made for the feast. Don't forget that. So if you need more information on therapy, sliding scale fee therapy, coaching sessions with me, or you are interested in taking our 6-week course that is going to help you cultivate an abundantly fulfilling life in recovery by reigniting your passions and zeal for life, please visit the show notes below where you can find my cell phone number, my email address, and the links to my website for more information on coaching or the course. If you would like to dig in deeper this week or any week and create your own personalized roadmap to cultivating an abundantly fulfilling life, then hop on over to our Patreon page and become a Rebel VIP today. As a Rebel VIP, you get a companion episode to this podcast episode, and each podcast episode each week that digs in deeper and takes this episode to the next level. You'll also get exclusive access to worksheets, printable journal pages, and other useful information that will truly help you begin to cultivate an abundantly fulfilling life. If you aren't in recovery, no worries. Just like every episode that drops, the tools we share in the Rebel VIP membership can be used to help anybody cultivate abundance in any aspect of their life. For more information on becoming a Rebel VIP, you can visit the link in the show notes or visit rebelandreawakencoaching.com and click on Rebel VIP. Last but not least, if this episode is making an impact in your life, please share it. You can subscribe so that you never miss an episode. Take a screenshot of this episode and share it on your social stories and tag me. I am at Teresa Anka on all social platforms. I would be forever thankful if you could share this with someone who you know might benefit from it. As always, be well, be kind, and may you find some joy this week. Bye.